Hi there. In a previous topic video, we took a look at some work by Kotter and Schlesinger that looked at the four main causes of resistance to change. The same theorists also went on to identify 6 ways in which an organisation could overcome resistance to change. So let's take a quick look at these 6 categories. Starting with education and communication, the obvious starting point for a major change project is to try to explain to those affected by it why the change is needed, what's involved, what are the implications for people in the organisation. And a process of early and honest communication is often the most effective way to get a change management program underway. On its own, education communication is not enough. And a key point at the bottom there is that it needs to be delivered consistently, not just at the start of the process. Because change management projects, by definition, tend to be pretty complex and long-standing, so communication needs to flow throughout. The next stage, identified as a way of overcoming resistance to change, was participation and involvement. Getting the organisational employees involved in the process, a process called onboarding. Awful piece of jargon, but we kind of know what it means. It means explaining the reasons for change, getting them involved in the process, perhaps involved in the project teams that implement the change program. Getting those affected by the change onboarded, involved, participating in the change project can be an effective way of overcoming initial resistance. The third is facilitation and support. Every change management project is bound to raise issues, concerns amongst those, particularly if they have concerns of self-interest about how they're going to be affected. So therefore processes of counselling, mentoring, training programs, as well as just actively listening to the concerns raised by those affected by the change, is an important part of firstly recognising resistance and concern, but then overcoming it. The fourth stage, or the fourth process, is known as manipulation or co-option. Manipulation, a slightly worrying phrase, slightly concerning term. What it really means is being selective about the information that you provide to people in order to encourage them to behave in a certain way. You might be slightly nervous about that. You certainly would be if you were in an organisation that was using it. You might argue it's slightly unethical, but it could be one way of overcoming resistance to change, as is co-option. This involves bringing in individuals into the change project who might otherwise be on the outside resisting the project. The fifth is good old negotiation and bargaining, providing incentives to people to follow the proposed change or incentives to leave if they're not happy with it. So a classic example of this will be to offer significant financial benefits, rewards for those who decide to take up the opportunity to leave the organisation. You often see this in cases of change management that involve delayering or large-scale redundancies, that those who the organisation wants to leave are given a financial incentive to take it, to be offered a redundancy and other terms. And lastly, explicit and implicit coercion. Now, this really is the last resort. If all the other 5 methods have been tried and they're still not working, then maybe you need to resort to coercion. If you don't agree with the change, if you don't do what you're told exactly what the implications will be. Now, the big issue with coercion, threats, is that it damages trust, particularly those who remain within the business. People always remember how an organisation makes them feel, and if they make them feel pretty damaged, pretty negative as a result of coercion, then that's quite hard to recover from once the change project is completed. But nevertheless, Kotter and Schlesinger said, coercion is an option. Perhaps not the best option, but it's certainly an option to overcome resistance to change. So there we go, that was a quick roundup of those 6 methods of overcoming resistance to change.